Welcome to In Focus on this Sunday, September 7th, 2025. I'm Lori Chung, filling in for Cheryl Wells. Today, we turn our attention to gun violence. With nearly 500 shooting victims and about 400 shooting incidents in the first 7 months of the year, the lowest number of victims and incidents in recorded history for the city. And on this Sunday, it's In Focus, Brooklyn Assemblymember Brian Cunningham joins us to discuss the recent shooting in Crown Heights that killed 3 and injured several people. Plus, NYPD clergy liaison Robert Rice is here. He talks about his 3 decades of experience responding to the scene of violence and how it's changed over the years. And later, Iesha Sekou, founder and CEO of Street Corner Resources. She talks about youth programs and how they help prevent future gun violence from happening. All of that and so much more happening now on In Focus. Let's begin today's conversation with Brooklyn Assemblymember Brian Cunningham. Assemblymember Cunningham, thanks so much for being here with us. I want to get right into where crime is and how people feel about it. You know, the NYPD recently reported that about 23,000 illegal guns have been taken off the streets since the start of the Adams administration. But that update came just weeks before the shooting in Crown Heights at the lounge that killed 3 people. What are your thoughts on how people might feel about crime versus where the statistics are showing that it's actually down? Maybe people don't feel that way.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. Secondly, thanks for highlighting the tragedy that happened in our district just a couple of weeks ago, just right outside our district, 1 block. I think the reality is if people don't feel safe, the data means nothing, right? And I think the reality is if 1 life is lost, that 1 bullet has an impact on so many other communities and it's impacted the community in a deep way, much less the 14 that were shot and 4 that lost their lives in Crown Heights. So we really have to make sure that we reduce that number to 0 because feelings are perception and are reality.
I know you're out there talking to people. What are people saying to you on a day-to-day basis?
Look, we had a basketball tournament this past weekend after the shooting. It's our 4th annual anti-gun violence program, basketball program. And the young people were just excited to be in a safe space. They were really nervous about potentially playing on a court. 2 years ago, we kind of switched the model from being outdoors to indoors. And we're grateful to the partnership of the Major Owens Center allowing us to use that space because sometimes people see people and they may see somebody they're looking to get and all of a sudden a peaceful event can turn tragic. So we're just really grateful for the support. But people are nervous about it a little bit. People are nervous as Labor Day is approaching and want to make sure that they feel safe in the community. Absolutely.
You know, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office announced the decline in gun violence continued and also accelerated during the first half of this year. The number of homicides down by 29%. What do you think is driving those numbers? Is it a combination of factors or any one thing you would pinpoint to?
I think some of the cure violence groups that we have, and I'm one of the first legislators ever elected in the state of New York who actually worked at a cure violence site, having those programs in communities have been super helpful in terms of gathering information and making sure we reduce gun violence and also mediating conflicts before they happen. But certainly there's still a lot of anxiety around quality of life and poverty and stuff like that. So people are looking sometimes that don't understand the skill sets to kind of reduce those conflicts. And we definitely want to make sure that we help them identify those ways to reduce conflict in the communities.
And we know those groups, they go out, they hit the streets, and they try to disrupt things before they happen.
We've also even this past session passed a mobile crisis unit bill, which is going to have more mobile units helping to do more deep work in communities so that when people can't cross certain blocks or get in certain neighborhoods, those mobile vans will reach out to them in those communities as well.
Okay. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the New York Small Business Growth and Support Act. Can you talk a little bit about that and why it's important?
The Small Business Growth Bill essentially allows small businesses to get a tax reduction, which would then allow them to scale up. We know that in the first 7 years of any business is the most challenging time for that business. So we want to see if we can reduce those costs so they can actually stay in business so we're not walking down the corridors of Nostrand Avenue, Utica Avenue and seeing storefronts that are shuttering too early before their time.
What is your snapshot of where business growth is in your district right now?
I mean, right now, business in our district is actually booming. We obviously have a district that's fastly gentrifying. We have a lot of coffee shops that have popped up. We also have a lot of local mom and pop stores that were organically grown from people who lived and were born in that district. You walk down Nostrand Avenue, you can't help but see Lips Cafe, Aunts and Uncles, and all the big businesses that have started more than 5 years ago pre-pandemic that are still around. That's a good sign and a good growth trajectory.
And it shows that, people want to be in the district and they want to invest.
Well, people also want to be not only live in Brooklyn, but they want to be able to support Brooklyn businesses, right? And I think that's key. And I want to see that all throughout the 5 boroughs.
We're 5 years out from the pandemic that was so disruptive to so many businesses and families and just our way of life. You helped establish the Save Our Small Business Grant Program to aid certain small businesses that were impacted by that. Talk about how that helps local businesses and the economy.
Look, there were a lot of small businesses that did not see the pandemic coming. And when the pandemic happened, a lot of our small businesses were wiped out, obliterated. We wanted to make sure that we had grant resources available to those small businesses to help them get a boost back so they can continue to hire locally, provide those supports for communities, and remain in those communities. We don't want to see communities that have to pick up and leave the state lines to actually make resources. So we figured out a way to create grant programs that they can tap into and actually help scale and grow their businesses.
And we're almost out of time, but when you look 5 years out, what will be your measure of success when you look at that program?
The measure of success is making sure that we don't just have small businesses that started before the pandemic or after the pandemic, but businesses that are around 10, 15 years from now. You think about juniors downtown Brooklyn. When people go downtown Brooklyn, they want to see juniors. We want to make sure that every small business in our district is diverse, that it also is going to be there for a couple of years.
Okay, a lot of work to do. Make sure that is the case. And you're certainly on the street making that happen. Brooklyn Assembly Member Brian Cunningham, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, still to come, we talk more about gun violence with NYPD clergy liaison Robert Rice, who joins us to share his experience talking to victims of shootings. We'll get that perspective. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Joining us now, Robert Rice, NYPD clergy liaison. Thanks so much for being here with us to talk about this very important topic. There was a shooting not too long ago in Brooklyn and Crown Heights where 3 people were killed, several others injured. Police are saying it's gang related, but to a lot of people it might feel like there are too many of these incidents happening in the city. What are your thoughts on people who may feel like there's a rise in gun violence in the city right now, and maybe they don't feel so safe walking down the street?
So first, thank you for having me. What I would say to them is that crime is down, and that's 100% the truth. If you look at the statistics, crime is down, and I think the mayor and the police commissioner and NYPD for doing a phenomenal job in that area. Do we have some shootings? Yes, it's going to be some shootings. Things going to happen. If you go back a couple of weeks ago, a senior citizen coming out the Chinese store gets shot by a straight bullet, a senseless shooting. People who have problems with each other are shooting at each other, and I want them to know that the work that I do as a chaplain, a community chaplain, is to ease fear in the community when there is a shooting. So I do go and talk to these families and sometimes I'll talk to the victims when they shot at the hospital. And so I let the community know that, crime is down and, it's getting better.
Well, you have 30 years of experience doing this kind of work. Talk to me a little bit about that experience, how you came to it, and what it's like to talk to people at some of the, arguably the worst moments of their lives when they're dealing with it.
Yeah, so, I've been fighting gun violence for over 30 years throughout the city of New York, mainly here in Harlem. I respond to the scene of the shooting and then the hospital. The reason why I respond to the scene is to ease fear in the community, to let the community know that as a community chaplain, I stand with them and, and make sure that there's not another shooting. So I'm there to put out the fire and also to de-escalate any kind of retaliation. So, and then I go to the hospital, and then now I got to be with the family. So I visit thousands over that 30 years of responding to the scene, but also at the hospital. And I had to tell hundreds of families that their loved one didn't survive. So that's a difficult part for me, when you got to walk out with the doctor and the doctor looks at the family and say, sorry, and then they screaming and yelling like 2 weeks ago with a grandson and the son when they told them that their grandmother that was shot by a stray bullet didn't make it. Now I got to soak up these families' pain. And people ask me, how do I do it? I have I have a church in Harlem that helped me in the area, give me spiritual counseling, because I soak up so much pain of these families and deal with so much trauma, that I do have my bishop, Bishop Dr. Carlton Brown, my senior pastor. He assigned some ministers of the church to give me spiritual counsels when I need it. But the way I got into this gun violence was through my church. You know, when I was a young man, I've been in my church 38 years, so when I was a young man that didn't know which way to turn, and that's what we have with a lot of young kids out here. They are crying out for something bigger than themselves and their problem. Yeah. And my church understood the importance of the Great Commission to go out and reach the lost, and they found a lost person like myself that didn't know where I was going, and then I found Christ. And while I was there, they had a Beth Hart Crisis Center that taught me when I was there how to serve other people, to don't forget where you used to be at. So
and now you're paying it forward.
So I could look at some young people and identify with them and say, you look familiar. You remind me of who I used to be. And now I could give back to these young people and tell them, listen, there's a better way to go. There's a better way of not picking up a gun. You got to finish school. An area where I was struggling with the senior citizens in my church. And, and the first lady and her sister used to tutor me 38 years ago to help me get on that right path. Get on that right path.
Tell me about some of the events that you're connected to before we go to get young people engaged in something positive and an alternative.
So, you know, I'm in a lot, like every year I have different annual things that I do. I got I just finished having my 15th annual God is Love, Stop the Gun Violence, where we had the girls basketball team as well as the boys. They throughout the city, Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, they all came together to play against each other. These are coaches that believe in myself and what my mission is to make sure another young kid don't pick up a gun and make sure another mother and father don't have to bury another child. So the 15th annual God is Love, we had that. We had the 5th annual God is Love softball. We just finished that. We had the kickball tournament that we did, was the 4th annual. So I try to find stuff for the kids to stay busy.
Yeah. And that work is
not
so important.
And not to pick up a gun. But I am a part of some other organizations that's out there that's doing phenomenal work. So I don't want people to think that I'm just doing this work. You have TAG organization. It's called TAG, Teaching the Generation. Janet and Pastor Conan doing phenomenal work with our young kids. They got thousands of kids every week that is that's coming to their program, and they have so many city officials come by to help them with that. So I'm just, you know, trying to stay busy with these young people and you know.
And it's so needed, the work you're doing and the work of others.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Robert Rice, NYPD clergy liaison. We appreciate your time and for being here with us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course. Well, still to come, we speak with the founder and CEO of Street Corner Resources, how the organization is helping keep the streets clean. We'll talk about that. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to In Focus. Our last guest, Iesha Sekou, founder and CEO of Street Corner Resources, here with me now. Iesha, thanks so much for being with us. You're centered in Harlem. You've been doing work there for, I don't know how long now.
Decades.
Decades. And you've been engaging the youth there. That's a big part of your work in preventing gun violence and gang activity. Can you talk a little bit about what you see there in Harlem? Are things getting better? You know, some people have the perception that maybe it's not, but from your perspective, you've seen probably it all. Things getting better or worse?
So it depends on the measuring stick. What are we measuring better by? What is better? In this work, when you deal with the issue of gun violence, better is sometimes just the young person who may have been out on the corner, dropped out of school, and maybe may have been involved in gun and gang activity or even gang activity or violent behavior. Better could just be that that young person has been pulled out of that equation and back in school and involved in improving and enhancing his or her life like we do at Street Corner Resources. But better is also measured by the number of shootings we don't have, right? And then there are the ones we do have. So oftentimes people can mix that. You know, they'll see, oh, there are shootings, but maybe the year before we had more shootings. Right. So then that makes it better in a certain sense. When you're in this work, we're grateful if we have one less shooting. But what we really want is to diminish the amount of shootings and engage more young people in a positive lifestyle, get them involved, go and speak to young people in schools, talk to business owners, and particularly better for me is when parents get more involved with their young people so that they don't meet the kid that's in their house, in the cage, or the grave. Oftentimes, young people find out that their kids were involved in certain activity because of what the final product is, which either they get an arrest, the police come knock the door down, they're looking for them, they had a gun, and at those points it's too late. So better is when we have parents involved with their young people even greater, and they know what's going on with their kid. Like, they have to know.
So tell me some specifics about this work. It's so critical, like you say, keeping people from getting to that crisis point. What led you to it? And, you know, on day to day, how are you meeting these young people where they are?
Okay, so Street Corner Resources was kind of inspired by a conversation with myself and my mother, who has since passed on. But my mother, I would tell her about what was happening with young people, and she would say, if it bothers you, do something about it. And that's who she was all my life. If you don't like something, then do something about what you don't like. And I remember I said, well, I want to start an organization. And she said, well, it's not as easy as you think. And I said, but that's okay, I want to help these kids. So we named it Street Corner Resources. So Street Corner Resources was actually named by my mother. So the focus of Street Corner Resources, the mission, was to engage young people, meet them where they are, meet them on the streets, in the hallways, wherever they are, and that's what we still do. But to also look at them, not for who they are, but who they can become. And to begin to see that there is something greater than what we just see with the eye. And we have been doing that pretty well over the last couple of, decades or so, a few decades or so. We have young people who have changed their lives. They're in the work. They're not in the prison anymore. And there are those who didn't listen and they went to prison, but they came out to come back and work with us.
To pour into other young people.
Yes, to give it back and to support young people and to keep them from picking up the gun. See, you know, what leads to picking up the gun is not even necessary sometimes. If only they had had an ear or somebody who understood being angry or the mental health issue that may be going on with them or the lack that they had in their life, like not having things, makes some young people so angry that gets infused the moment they have an argument with someone. It's not even the present, current argument. It is what led up to the argument becoming so volatile to pick up a gun. It's all those things that happened in their life or that did not happen in their life. And that anger comes out by pulling the trigger.
I see you're wearing, you know, the shirt. I see I Am Peace.
Oh, yes.
Can you talk
this
to
is
me?
Our shirt.
Can you talk to me about the I Am Peace movement?
Yes. So one of the things I love about our I Am Peace movement, it's young people. You'll see it in the African American Day Parade. We have hundreds of young people. You know, they often make fun of me. They say, here you come with all these young people. And the idea is that they wear the message, and it's a subliminal seduction. It's on purpose. It's so that when they see the shirt, other young people see the shirt, you read the shirt, and you're actually affirming to yourself that you're at peace. But not only that, we want young people to match the sneakers. You know, see, I got on my fresh sneakers that go with the t-shirt to show them that this gear doesn't have negative messages. It's a positive message, and you can hook it up with your sneakers or your head wrap or whatever it is that you're wearing, and we're making peace more fashionable. So this movement is so that young people come to us. They're involved in our music studio. We have great young people making beats and that kind of thing. We have young people doing boxing, and we have a wonderful boxing team. These are young people who had to deal with anger issues and that kind of thing. We call it creative aggression. That's a term that I coined to call it that. It's a way of using the energy in a positive way. So it's creative aggression for boxing and a few other things that we do. We have a performance ensemble. So the I Am Peace movement encompasses all of the things that our young people do to create peace within themselves and in their community.
So much important work that you do, giving those young people a different way to express themselves, like you say, and a way to be productive and positive and hopeful at the end of the day. Iesha Sekou, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
And I appreciate you've always been like right in front. This show has been in front, getting the information out to the people. I love it.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching this edition of In Focus. I'm Lori Chung. We appreciate you spending your Sunday with us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. To keep up with important issues impacting our communities and hear more conversations with the people who are shaping the future, subscribe to our channel. You can also download our app or find Spectrum News on your TV for balanced, in-depth political coverage and more. We'll see you there.